Hello, everybody. My name is Victor Santos. I'm a PhD student in Applied Linguistics and Technology at Iowa State University in the United States. I'm originally Brazilian, and I've lived in several different countries. I've lived in Germany, Israel, India, the United States, Brazil itself, Holland, and throughout these years, one thing that I've learned to love is language learning and learning languages, so much so that I actually made it part of my studies. So, enough about me. Today, what I would like to discuss are some very essential tools, in my personal and professional opinion, that pretty much every language learner should have in their toolbox for language learning. Once again, I repeat, these tools are tools that can be useful for any language that you're learning at a given moment. So, without further ado, I'll be discussing the very first of these tools, which is the Google Translate extension. Now, you guys are probably very familiar with Google Translate, right? You put the word you want here in one language and it spits out the translation in the other language. So, what I'm going to be showing you is something slightly different. You need Chrome for that. So, we're going to install an extension. If you have Chrome, you go to Window, Extensions. If you have a Mac, now if you're on a Windows, you probably want to go to the hamburger here, more tools, and then extensions. Either or will work. So let's get there. And once we are inside of extensions, what I want you to do is you're going to look for get more extensions. Maybe you have to come here. I want you to look for an extension that is called Google Translate. And I'm going to show you what the symbol looks like. Google Translate. So just click there, Google Translate. The one that you want is the one that has this symbol. It's offered by translate.google.com. I'm going to click on Add to Chrome. It's going to say checking, and the symbol will appear here at the top where my extensions are. Add. I'm going to click on Add. And now you're going to see I have a new symbol that should pop up pretty soon here. There it is. Awesome. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to click on that symbol and then click on Extension Options. Now, if you're learning Japanese and you're a speaker of English, most of the time what you want to be doing is you want to make sure that you're reading as much material in the target language as possible, in this case Japanese, and you want things that you do not understand, certain grammatical structures, certain words translated into your primary language, usually your mother tongue. But if you're a polyglot, that can be any language that you're comfortable with and that you can use to better understand the language you're studying. So in my case, I'm going to choose English because that's a language I'm pretty comfortable with. And whenever I'm reading anything on the web in any other language but English, it's going to get translated to English. Now, this can work in two different ways. I can immediately see the translation into English whenever I select something, or I can display an icon that I have to click on in order to see the translation. So it really depends on how you surf the web. I'm going to show both. I personally prefer the immediately display pop-up option. I'm going to click on Save, and now I can close this, and hopefully the extension will work. I'm going to go to a website where I know I have some Russian sentences, and it's actually a website we're going to talk about pretty soon. I can select any text, let go. Okay, so I have to refresh because I just installed the extension. So it kicks in, great. I can select any text, and now I'm going to see the translation through Google Translate. So this basically in Russian, I can click here for the symbol, for the audio.
Я заметила.
It means I noticed in English, okay? So as you can see, mine has the immediate display. The moment I select something, it automatically displays the box, right? If you don't want that, you can simply go back to your extension options, display icon instead, save, close. Don't forget to refresh the page so your settings come into play. And now, if I select something, it's going to show me a symbol right here. And once I click on the symbol, I'm going to see the translation. So it really depends on your personal style. I really like Google Translate. It's a fantastic tool. So instead of translating the whole page, just select whatever you don't understand. That really gives you a lot of reading practice. Your vocabulary is going to improve, and so on. So now that we got Google Translate working, the next tool I actually want to show you is this one we're in, Tatoeba. If you go to Google and Google search and you type Tatoeba, I'll do that right now. My internet is a little slow. Tatoeba. Let's do that in the search bar here. Tatoeba. Well, it doesn't matter. It's going to take you to the Tatoeba website. And I'll explain to you what Tatoeba actually is. Click here, tatoeba.org. And here we are on the website. So Tatoeba is a crowdsourced translation platform. What does that mean? It basically means that anyone, any user, once you register and once you're logged in, you can submit a sentence in any given language, and whoever speaks that language in another language can provide the translation to the original sentence in another language, right? Once a lot of people are doing that, what you end up with is a great platform where you have a lot of sentences in one language with translations in other languages. Now, how can that be useful? So let's say I'm learning the word, door in Russian, dверь, and I don't really know how to use it in context, especially because Russian has cases and so on. So what I can do is I can come to Tatoeba, and I'm going to say from Russian, because that's the language that I'll insert the word in, to English. And basically what I'm telling Tatoeba is, find me any sentences in the database that contain the word dверь and which are in Russian, and show me their English translation. So let's see if this is going to work. I click on the magnifying glass. Here I can see some examples. Закрой дверь, the translations offered by users. Shut the door, close the door, lock the door. So just here, I've learned that this verb, закрой, can be used with dверь, and it's probably an imperative verb. If I want to double check, let's use the Google Translate tool we just learned. Why is this not working? Maybe because I have the pop-up. Let me refresh this. And hopefully it's gonna work. Okay, not working. Let me go back here to extension options and do the immediate one. A little bug. I wasn't expecting, but shouldn't be too bad. I think that's one of the reasons I prefer the immediate one. It works pretty much every time. There it is, right? Close the door. If you want to use Google Translate just for checking. But these ones are human translations. Now, open the door would be Откройте дверь. So here you can see various sentences where the word дверь appears. Okay? Закрой дверь, отворите дверь, open the door, and so on. The door creaked. Really great examples for you to understand how the word is used in context. Okay? I can also go from English to other languages. So let's say I want to learn how to say never did in, let's pick a language, let's say German. Why not? So let's see how we can say never did in German. I'm going from English to German. I never did. Then we have they never did anything. Sie haben nie etwas getan. Well, I never did. Hole die Waldfee. He never did his work anyhow. So really amazing example sentences. Okay? Some of them will have the audio.
You'll never guess what Tom did.
But since the audios also have to be contributed by the users, most sentences will not have an audio. And of course, depending on the language you're studying, so let's say you're studying Breton, Bosnian, these will have fewer sentences and pronunciations than a language like German, Russian, and English that have a very large number of users. All in all, a fantastic tool for you to see example sentences. So here we are, Tatueba, great tool. Now, I'm going to show you another one, which is called Lingui. Okay? So, Tatueba, these are human translations provided by the user. Lingui is what we call a parallel corpus, okay? So basically, this is a huge collection of documents that have been translated by human beings into different pairs of languages, and a computer algorithm goes out there on the internet and crawls the web for these parallel texts. So you're going to have exactly the same text in English translated by a human in a language of your choice. So if English is one of the base languages, you can choose Russian, French, Portuguese, German, Spanish, Italian, Japanese, Chinese, Polish, Dutch, Swedish, Danish, Finnish, Greek, Czech, Romanian, Hungarian, and so on. You can check the list of languages here. It's a pretty large number of languages that are offered. Not as large as the next tool I'm going to show you, but another fantastic way of finding example sentences for the constructions and words you're currently studying. So let's do Spanish, okay? So I would like to know how I can say is extremely in Spanish. The system actually already gives me some suggestions, such as it's extremely important, is extremely valuable. So I could choose one of those. So let's say I go for is extremely low. And it's going to give me many examples where this expression is extremely low happens in English. You can see it here, right? And it gives me exactly the translation that was provided by a human in Spanish. So the number of JPOs coming from the developing countries is extremely low. If you go to Spanish, I apologize for my very bad Spanish. El número de los que proceden de países en desarrollo es sumamente bajo. Okay? So here you can see that is extremely low in English corresponds to es sumamente bajo. Usually it's going to be highlighted in yellow, but that's an approximation. It's the computer algorithm that tries to identify what the translation is. But since you're speaker of the language you understand the most, let's say English in this case, you can see what corresponds to it. You already understand some of the words, so it's easier for you to see what the translation is in all of these. So here are examples. So Google Translate, because I have the automatic one, pops up automatically, right? As extremadamente bajo, extremadamente baja, sumamente baja. So various ways in Spanish that you can say is extremely low. They have a bunch of languages, really cool stuff. Stop that now. Let's say if they have that in Portuguese, stop that now. I look for it. Do they have it? Stop that work now. They don't have stop that now necessarily, but they show you sentences where they have combinations of those words. So stop now would be interromper in Portuguese. You also have stop that work now, parar esse trabalho agora. So stop that now would be parar agora. Something along those lines, right? Really useful tool for language learners. Now, if you like Lingui, you may want to go for Glosby. Glosby is very similar to Lingui, but it offers parallel corpora in way more languages than Lingui does. So if your language is not covered, or the language you're studying is not covered by Lingui, you can go to Glosby. So let's take a look at English, and here is a list of all of the sentences it actually offers. Amazing stuff. let's take a look at Hungarian, okay? And let's say I want to know how to say to the bathroom in Hungarian. Let's say I'm there, I need to go to the bathroom. I click on search, and it says we're sorry, we don't have any translation. So they don't have pre-made translations. But if you come here, you're gonna see sentences that use to the bathroom. I think we have to go to the bathroom, and here you have the Hungarian equivalent. If you have Google Translate, you can select that, and you can see it's a pretty good translation that was provided by the human. Here's the one provided by Google, and if you click here,
Szerintem ki kell mennünk a mosdóba.
you can see the translation of that sentence. Sorry, the pronunciation of that sentence. As we're going to discuss very shortly, Google Translate does pretty well with some voices for some languages, the text-to-speech, but it does very badly for some other languages. Hungarian seems to be one of the languages it doesn't do very well for. It sounds very robotic and not natural. Brazilian Portuguese is another language that Google Translate really got wrong. So we'll show you, if you're a Mac user, how you can get way better pronunciations with using a Mac instead of using Google Translate. So that can actually be what we're going to do now. So once again, this is Glosby, very similar to Lingui, but it has way more languages that are covered. And here on the left, you have some recommendations. Super cool stuff. Very nice. Now, if you're a Mac user, what you can do is you can go to System Preferences, you go to Dictation and Speech, System Voice. So think of the language that you're currently learning. In my case, it's Russian. So I got Milena, which is a Russian voice here, to be the voice that I installed for my Mac. Here you can change the key that will trigger the text-to-speech. Right now I have Option S in my computer.
Option.
Yeah. So basically you come here, I could do Command F and you can see it changes, but I want to stick to Option S.
Command.
Option.
Command.
Okay, let's try this again. Option S. Great.
Option.
And I'll click on OK. Yeah. So now what's going to happen is, let's go back to the same translation to Hungarian and compare Google. Oh, okay, I have Russian, so it's not going to work for Hungarian. Let's go to a page where I have Russian. Let's go back to Tatueba. Let me see if I can get there. Okay, I seem to have some Russian here. Lots of Russian sentences. So I could select this. It's going to be Google pronouncing. Maybe I have to refresh it. Usually you don't have to refresh. It works amazingly well, but for some reason now I'm having to refresh it. Let's see. There it is, the box. Let's listen to the pronunciation from Google.
Я не сразу понял, что она имела в виду.
Okay, a little robotic. Let's check if I do Option S.
Я не сразу понял, что она имела в виду.
I personally prefer the Apple voices way better than Google. So my computer is already set up to, since I study Russian a lot, whenever I press Option S, it pronounces the sentence in Russian. It recognizes that it's Russian. If I try the same thing with English, that's what's going to happen.
I did not immediately realize what she meant.
Which can be pretty funny if you want to see what somebody who speaks Russian would sound like in English, but usually there's not much purpose there. The next tool I want to show you is Forvo. Forvo is a fantastic platform that is also crowdsourced, and what Forvo wants to do is provide human-based pronunciations for every single word in every single language. So let's say I'm not sure I'm studying, let's say what language I'm studying. I want to do some Chinese, so I'm going to come here, Chinese, and I want to know how to say talk. In Chinese, apparently, it's this. And I can go to Forvo, type the word, don't have to indicate what language it is at this point, click on search, and if I click here, it's going to give me the pronunciation for that word.
谈话
And that's a human pronunciation, okay?
谈话
Apparently the same string of characters is also a word in Minnan and Hakka, okay? So let's look for the word unlikely in English. I press enter. It's going to give me this pronunciation.
unlikely
But if I click on the word, it actually shows the pronunciation of 4 different people. One from the United States, which is the one we just heard probably.
unlikely
One from a female from the United States.
Unlikely.
A female from Australia.
Unlikely.
And so on. So really nice platform for you to check a real pronunciation, human-generated pronunciation of a word you're studying in the foreign language. So all those things put together, Google Translate to help you with the reading, Forvo for the pronunciation. Google Translate also helps with the pronunciation. Setting up your Mac with system preferences for pronunciation. Tatoeba, Lingui, and Glosby. That's what you can use to check how a certain word is used, get your example sentences, and all that. If you're somebody who knows how to use Anki, I'll discuss that in my next video. All that can be used for example sentences and pronunciation of the word you are trying to learn with Anki. Really great platforms. I hope you guys will have a good time using these during your language learning. I always keep Lingui, Forvo, and some other tools open. I actually pin the tab. Really great stuff. So, thank you very much for watching, and let me know if this was useful for you guys and which one of the tools you found more useful for your own studies. Take care. Have a good day.